Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili nishmasi mi mirosi ruspas Mordechai. Hayoim echad v'arbaim yoim sheim chamisha shavuos v'shisha yomim. I received a nice email from an Avrech in Shasidin who does the daf with a bunch of his friends, he says, over here. Avram Alevi, his name is. We're not going to go into the whole thing. He has all sorts of ideas and rayas, and he says that Lamaisa, he says, I'll tell you a story, but I see these stories every single day here in the cholei, because we have one of the best Shasidin guys. He says that a guy walks into the Shasidin branch in Beitar, and he says, where's there a Amud in Shas that starts and finishes with the same 8 words? And within seconds, one of the Avrechim told him the exact daf. He saw this with his own eyes. And all my friends, they love the gishmak every morning. Bekitzer. Okay, Avram Alevi. Huh? He watches MD1. Nothing. Oh, it has to do. He said because he mentions that he's from Shasidin to say that at the Kiddush Hashem that we have in our door that we have such a Avrechim that know all of Shas. It's a long email. I'm just it's in Hebrew. I don't know how to translate from Hebrew to English. I really enjoy your shir. I started at Moed Katan. I live in Manchester. Was really excited when I heard you were coming here. However, then I saw the date, and I'm really disappointed as my school Jewish grammar are going to Poland with the 6th form from the 23rd to the 26th of June. If there's any way you could change the date.
Maybe they should change the date. Maybe for the siyum.
He's mamish coming back for the siyum date. So that's It'd be greatly appreciated. If not, then Be'ezras Hashem, I'll see you in the summer when I come with my family to Israel. Zevi Daltis, something like that. Michael Copper. Dear Belly, not long ago, my son and I decided to try read Daf Yomi. It was very hard and we got discouraged quickly. Then my son discovered you, and wow, just wow. Thank you. We had tickets booked for a trip to Eretz HaKodesh for a few days. I thought maybe we can join you for the shir, but the airline canceled the flights. Imagine our shock when you said you're coming to England. He is going to be there in those dates. We live here. Is it going to be a shir? How can we join you on any of these days? Maybe both. Please let us know. Michael and David. Thank you for making the Torah world and Daf Yomi world a better place, one gishmak at a time. Love you and your shir, your Costa Rica chevra. Caution, falling cows. That's Neged to our Daf. Is there good scuba diving in Costa Rica? Because I'm looking for a new place. I just had to cancel all my big plans, my bucket list of going to the Maldives. I don't know if you saw in the news. They're not allowing Israelis in there. I'm not, but I'm not going to go to a place that you guys can't go.
Look at that. That's called a serious
I had these ideas, and one day I should have. You know what? I'll tell you about shephna. I said 2 years ago they have these, these huts over the water and the best scuba diving in the world. Like, wow, I got to take my wife to pretend I'm going there for the hut. But meanwhile, I'll scuba dive. It's probably never going to happen now. Even if they allow it. We're not going, Rabbi Isai. We're not going to send in chips, weapons, what else?
Not chips. Computer chips.
Yeah.
Chips.
No, not potato chips. That we're going to send a lot of. Let them get fat. No Sally Ford gang, on the way to a live shear, Zisha is catching up on last night's shear. Oh, so if you wanted to know, you're tzaddik. This date, this is the Manchester. Wherever you wanted to know, I forgot to put this picture in. I really wanted to show this picture. Hold on, I got to show it to you. This is somebody. Here. Maybe I'll send this to Yosef. You got to show this. Some very chashuv guy sent this to me. And this is not a bacher learning. He found the bacher learning. He really wanted me to see this. So I said, okay, I'm going to put it in. And I forgot. Okay, but check this out. I think it was yesterday. Just talking about if there's 2 dogs, it's not an einus. 2 wolves is an einus. 1 wolf not. So on Rechov Rebbe Akiva in Beitar on Shabbos, you might have seen this, you might have not, but this is what you don't do. I'm serious. This is a public announcement to all from ladies. So the husbands should tell their wives. There's a guy across the street from me that has a nice sized dog. He walks it all the time. He has it just sits on the porch. And I saw two Yerushalmi women 2 days ago look up at the porch and they cross the street. Now the dog's behind the fence. So if this happens to you, do not do what this guy did. This is exactly what I was talking about. And I'm not even sure if this is a real attack or the dogs were playing. I don't know. He did get injured. This is on Shabbos. This is the top right corner or where I am. Take me away, Gershon. Yeah, thank you. Do not run. Do not run. Because you cannot outrun a dog. This is a Rechav Rebbe Akiva in Beitar.
He's making every mistake.
Yes.
That's good.
Stop. Have these dogs in the fight. The sheep dogs.
Yeah.
Stop. They just look at you.
Yeah. If you stop, you give them a one move. I think they. Rabbi Isai, the Masechta is sponsored by Anonymous for the safe and speedy return of all the hostages. The parnasah chodesh l'nishmas Zechraya ben Moshe l'nishmas Chaya bas Yosef. It's when the daf and life comes together. Rabbi Isai, we're our chaver from Manchester. Here they are. Oh, Zechus Refuah Shelema for Leah bas Esther is undergoing surgery today. She should have Refuah Shelaima. Hatzlacha and parnasah and limud hatorah for Refuah Shelaima lchol cholei Am Yisrael. You just see. No, that's Lana Devorah. Okay. Hatzlacha and parnasah and limud hatorah for Refuah Shelaima lchol cholei Israel Am Yisrael. Baruch Shafnis, the famous Baruch Shafnis, Nishmas, his mother, Chasya bas Yaakov Tzvi Leah of Baltimore on her 7th Yortzait. The neshama should have an aliyah. I know she's very proud of you and your brother who comes at night. One of the stars, he sits right here in your seat. He's an unbelievable guy, unbelievable. In honor of the engagement of Yaakov Steg to Shevy Hahn, Mazel Tov. Interesting sugis we have later on. The Gemara asks a bunch of interesting shilos. Before we get there, we are in the middle of a sugya of Ba'al Avimai. Ba'al Avimai, we're like 14 lines from the bottom, or if you prefer, 10 lines from where it becomes wide. 10 lines down from where it becomes wide, or 14 from the bottom. Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow we're catching up. It's a very short daf. Be'ezer Hashem. So, Ba'al Avimai. Just to review, if a person borrows something from someone, let's say he borrows a car from someone, and that someone that owns the car is employed by him either before or during, he says, hey, the guy borrowing the car is a mechutzef. Not only do I want your car, but make me a coffee as well. So he's working for him, he's bringing him a coffee. Then the halacha is the person borrowing the car is absolved of all damages and everything. We even had a tzad that should be parted from pshia, from negligence. Comes Rav Amnuna and says two bam chidushim. The Gemara argues on it. Number one, he says this only applies if the owner is with you from beginning to end, from the time that he gave you the car all the way until the accident. B, it cannot be in a car and a coffee. It has to be that he's working in the car. He's driving the car for you. It has to be that he's doing the work within that object. You can't separate the objects. So, Rava proved him wrong on the object thing, and now we're talking about, does he have to be there from beginning to end? Or is it enough, as the Gemara is going to paskin at the end, it's enough that he's there in the beginning, by the Shas She'ela, he's working. What happens afterwards, he doesn't have to work the rest of the time. The Ba'al Avimai goes into effect as long as he's there for one moment at the time of the She'ela, at the time that he lends him the object. Va'oid, another kash I have on you, Tanya, Mimashma Shenemar, in Ba'al Avimai lo yishalem, it says in the pasuk, in Ba'alav, Imai, here's the psukim, It starts not. If the owner is not with him, shalim yishalim, then you have to pay. Next part is in ba'alav imay, but if the owner is with him, meaning he works for you, then lo yishalim, that's the big chiddush of lo yishalim. It's a huge chiddush, and Taisus even asks a question. He says, "In chaboy el chidushay," that it's such a chiddush, you have to limit it to the chiddush itself. So says the Gemara, question, why do I need these two psukim? One says the owner is not with him, and one says the owner is with him. Anybody that learns a little Gemara knows they can infer. If it says, if the owner is not with him, then you have to pay. So then I understand that if the owner is with him, you don't have to pay. Or if it would say, in Ba'alav Imai, if the owner is with him, you don't pay. So if the owner is not with him, you do have to pay. Why do I need two psukim? In Ba'alav Imai lo yishalem any de'ash, in Ba'alav Eini Moi yishalem yishalem, ela matam aloim Ba'alav Eini Moi, loy maloch. I was once in I forgot what it's called even, not the SAT, the LSATs for law. I wanted to go to law school back in the day. So I took and then I'll tell you, it's not a I never went to law school. So I was taking the LSATs course, and I was terrible at you have to write what do you call it? An essay. Terrible. But in this part, I was a top student because a lot of the chaver there had no idea what it says these two words. So from that you understand what, like they didn't get it. Deductive reasoning, yeah, that I excelled at, but unfortunately the rest not. But then my mother was nifter like a few weeks into it, so I was like, okay, Baruch Hashem, I didn't go to law school. For me, it would have been better. It was better not to go because then I got into real estate, etc., etc. Okay, anyway, so deductive reasoning. This is simple stuff for those who do deductive reasoning. If the owner is with him, so did I skip? Oh, no. Why do I need the two psukim? As long as you're there in the beginning, not like Rav Amnuna said. As long as you're there right in the beginning, that's it. You don't have to be there at the end. But if you're there at the end, when the animal dies, it's not enough just for the owner to witness the death of his animal. He has to be there at the time, working for the guy at the time that he lent it to him. And another raya. It's the same thing, but from the other way. If the Torah just said the owner wasn't there, so then of course I can infer that if he is there, he doesn't have to pay. So again, why do you need the two psukim? As long as the owner was working, giving coffee at the time of the she'ela, and then the animal dies 2 weeks later, the guy doesn't have to pay anything. Tiyufta the Rav Amnuna, Tiyufta, so this is a Bam Kasha on Rav Amnuna who says the owner has to work from beginning till the death of the animal. Over here you see you don't have to. Shalom Yisrael. Abai Savarla, Kirb Yoshia. So let's go back for a second. We had a machlokes yesterday. We're going to discuss it for a little bit here, and then we're going to move on to another sugya. When the pasuk tells you two different things, like a person who curses his father and his mother, so Rabbi Yoshi says, it says father and mother. It means you have to curse both. There's a vav that connects the two. You have to curse both in order to be chayiv. If you curse just your father, you're not chayiv anything. It says shar v'chamar. It means you have to have a shar v'chamar, and if it's just one by itself, nothing. It says a yachta, okay. It says by us. So we'll see in a second. Rabbi Yoshia says, anytime it mentions two things, it means those two things. So let's say by us, like we're discussing these two things of this is the time of the lending and the time of when the animal dies. It's two different points in time, two times in the calendar. One is when you lend the object, you say, okay, here are the keys to my car, you can take my car. The other is when the car hits a tree. 2 different days. Rabbi Yoshia says, you would need both of those. Okay. Rabbi Yonasan, on the other hand, says, no, if the pasuk says two things, it could be either or. So Abaye takes Rabbi Yoshia's svara that you need both. Rava says, no, I hold like Rabbi Yonasan, you need one. But at the end of the day, Abaye and Rava come out with the same exact halacha. So let's take a look. We'll do this balpeh in a second. It's very, very simple. We have 1 and 2. 1 is v'chiyish alish. That's when you lend a live cow. 2 is v'nish barimeis. The cow drops dead. There's actually a vav in red. It's mechaber, the top and the bottom. So according to Rabbi Yoshia, it's one chain, it's one thing. You need both. According to Rabbi Yonasan, one or the other. For what? For the bottom of the puzzle. If the owner is not there, you must pay. That's a chiyuv. You're mechuyev to pay if the owner is not there. If the owner is working for you, then you potter. The problem is, as we mentioned before, you just do a simple, inference. If you infer simply, if you deduce a simple deduction, then you'll come out with the opposite. If you extrapolate, you have any other Panovitcher words? You came out with another sefer? What's going on over here? What is that? There's a new one?
Number 50.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
5-0?
5-0. Big 5-0.
By the time we finish shots, he's going to have 2,711 svarim. Wow, mazel tov. Zer Shimshon. Unbelievable. Okay, you want to show it to me for a second? Rabbi Isai. Beautiful. So, at the end of the day, we're going to come out like this. If you do a simple deduction, the pasuk says, you have to have both in order to, or you don't have both in order to be chayiv. So if you have one, you'd be potter. Then if you go to the other pasuk, if you have both, you're potter. But if you have one, you're chayiv. What's the answer to that according to Abaye and according to Rava? You're right. If you have one, you're potter. And if you have one, you're chayiv. If you have number 1, you're potter. If you have number 2, you're chayiv. In other words, if the owner is there at the time that he gives the keys, according to Abaye, according to Rava, according to Rabbi Yoshia, according to Rabbi Yonasan, you're potter because he's there at the time of giving the keys. But if you're there at one out of the 2 things, meaning the second one, you're there at the death of the animal, then you're chayiv. That's the whole sugya. Now the only thing is, how do I know that you have that? If I could choose, so let's use logic. If I had to choose 1 or 2, where do you think that the owner should be at the time of giving the keys or at the time of the death in order to make the guy that borrowed it from him potter? Where does it make more sense that he's there? 1 or 2? 2?
Time of the damage. The time of the death.
Okay, hold on, Benny. Don't get too excited. Anybody say 1 over here? The Rosh Chodesh says 1. Who else? 1. Why 1?
Because I have to be meshubit to you at the same second you're meshubit to me. It has to be at the time of the transaction.
No.
I never took upon myself a borrower's obligation of onus if I at the same time was meshubit to you.
So you're saying it has to be at the time that you give the keys, then you could be simultaneously meshubatim. Right. You show up late or not. But maybe the Torah is saying, Hagufa, you don't have to be there simultaneously. You show up later. Anyways, why do you say that, Rosh Koil? Why? Like him. Okay. Everybody in the Hebrew share said 2. But the Gemara is going to say 1. There is no 2 before 1. 1 is the most important thing, the Gemara says. On the other hand, well, if there's no damage, then you don't need 1. The kids it goes back and forth. So let's see. So inside, we're 7 lines from the bottom. Abaye is like Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Yoshia is the one that says you need both together. Rabbi Yoshia, and he answers like Rabbi Yoshia. But he comes out with the same conclusion as Rava. Rava Sava like Rabbi Yonasan. Rabbi Yonasan says if you have 2 things in a pasuk, you don't need to do both. You can do one or the other. But that is like Rabbi Yonasan. Therefore, since he holds like Rabbi Yonasan, he's going to answer the psukim like Rabbi Yonasan. Same conclusion as Rava though, from a different angle. Meaning, Ba'al of Einima, if you take the top pasuk, Ba'al of Einima, if the owner did not work with you, then you have to pay. Time is the lesson of value. The Ba'al of Einima comes right after 1 and 2. It says 1, there was a Sheila, 2, it dies. Ba'al of Einima, he wasn't where? He wasn't by 1 and 2. Meaning that if he was by 1 out of the 2, time in the lesson of value, what if he was at 1 out of the 2? potter. And the Gemara is going to establish that the one out of the two is the beginning, the sheila. Oh, but I can infer the exact opposite. In pasuk, whatever pasuk that was, Yudalit or whatever it was, the following pasuk in green, it says, if the owner was with him, then you don't pay. Time of this is because he had both of those things. He was there by the sheila, he was there by the misa. But if he's only had one out of the two, so now we have a contradiction. If you infer from the first pasuk, you come out that if one is potter. If you infer from the second pasuk, you come out one is chayiv. Which one is it? Potter or chayiv? The simple answer is one. As long as you're there when you give the keys over, then you're potter. But if you're there by the death of the animal, that's not enough to absolve him, and you don't have balavimai. Daf Amud Aleph. Rava does the same exact thing, but he infers slightly different. The Sanya. Now let's think about it. Rabbi Yonasan says that anytime you have two things in a pasuk, like by us, you have one and two, you don't need both. It's one or the other. So Memela, when you infer over here, you do it a little differently. The Sanya, if the owner, he's starting from the bottom, from the green. If the owner was working for you, you don't pay. You don't need both. It could be one or the other. So as long as you have one out of the two, you're potter, according to Rabbi Yonasan. You don't need both. One is enough. But the problem is, but what I do if I infer from the first pasuk, it says if the owner is not there, what does it mean not there? Even if he's not there for one of them, he's chayav. So I come out with exact opposite deal. From the second pasuk in Balav Imai, or what he's quoting first, it comes out that you're potter. From the first pasuk, it comes out that you're chayav. Which one is it? Same exact conclusion. Lo malach. You should be there just in the beginning. If you're there working from the beginning, when you make him a coffee, when you give him the car, you're potter. But if you witness the death of the animal, the oinus, no good. Ask the Gemara, who told you? The question is according to Abaya and Rava. Not only Rava, it's also to Abaya. In other words, yeah. To both. Who told you that the most important thing is for the guy to be there when he gives over the keys? Maybe the most important thing is for the guy to see and be there, work for you, give you a cup of coffee as the car goes into the tree, as the animal drops dead. Hey, let's flip it. Says no, I could use simple logic. That's when you take upon yourself the achrayus becomes yours. Adarabba, maybe punkfaker, chvura meisadifa. Maybe it's better for the guy to work for you while it dies. She can chayav by himself. That's when the damage occurred. That's when you chayav. Says Gemara, Eloi she'ela. But if I don't borrow it, shvura meisa ma'avid. There is no death of an animal b'nogeh to the borrower if there's no borrowing. The most important thing is the borrowing. Says Gemara, Eloi shvura, ilav shvura meisa. But if the animal doesn't die, she'ela ma'avid, we wouldn't be in the sugya. If a guy borrows something and nothing happens, who cares? So now we have one against one. We have a good taina to say that it should be sheila. We have a good taina that it should be mesa. So what do? Stalemate almost. Oh, so we're going to stick in a little svara here. Not 100% understood, to me at least. It's better to say that he has to be there and work at the time of the lending. That's when the borrower becomes obligated to feed the animal. He takes upon himself another his chayvus. Oh, so it's an important time. Be there. When you give over the keys, you should be working for the guy, not when the animal dies. I don't understand this verse. So what if he's chayv and mezainis? What shaykh is?
That's when the relationship is created. Exactly. Your chiyuv begins then.
No, your chiyuv begins without mezainis. If there's no mezainis, if there's a kli. I got a pen from you. I got a car. I'm not mechuyev to feed it. Okay, it's a little bit more. It's something here. Something. That by itself, you wouldn't say, that was the reason. But because it's one against one, I put that in there and boom, it wins. It tips the scale, you know what I mean? Rav Ashi Omar Kro. I can learn it from the beginning of the pasuk. Let's go back to the beginning of the pasuk. Let's just show this before I forget here. Check this out, Rabbi Isai. We have this is you'd be chayav on something like that. If you borrow somebody's Tesla and a lamppost, what?
Is he coming down?
You have to wait. I think he grabbed onto the thing on top. He's not coming back down. When we get a... Stay tuned. That's next. We have this. Forget about the bal of einimoy, in bal of imoy. From those words, me'im re'eu, when I borrow something from my friend, it's mashma, my friend is not there. He's not working for me. I took it from him, but he's not working for me. That's what Rav Ashi said. His friend is not there working for him. Shalom, that's what you have to pay. When is this talking about, Rabbi Isai? When did this happen? At the time of the Sheila. So you see over here that the concept of Baal Avimai occurs at the time when you give the keys, not when the animal dies. Ask the Gemara the obvious question: why do I need the 2 second psukim? Why do I need the psukim at the end? If you're able to extrapolate from the first psukim, the I see the halacha somehow. Rav Ashi sees it. There's a concept of Baal Avimai from those 2 words Mireu. So I don't even need the words Baal of Einimoy, Baal Avimai. All those words are extra. I see 6 words that are extra. More Shalom Yishalem, Lo Yishalem. All that is extra. Lomali says the Gemara, no. If it would just say Mimreu, nobody would be able to make up a drasha from the words Mimreu. I borrowed something from my friend. How should it say it? Michaveira, okay, Mimreu. Now that I have Baal of Einimoy, and I have the pasuk in Baal of Imoy, so I have like a contradiction in the psukim, and I don't know what to do. So now I'm going to take the 2 first words of Mimreu in red and say that explains to me when it happened. It's a gilu. It's not a strong limud. It's a shvach limud. But after I have the Baal of Imoy and Ein Baal of Imoy, the whole contradiction that we discussed, so Mimreu explains to us the timing. The timing was when v'chiyishal. When at the time when you borrowed the object, not at the time when the animal died. That's just the simple way of how Torah explains what happened, that somebody borrowed something from someone. And now we go into extremely interesting shilos, one after another. What is borrowing? How do we view borrowing? We're going to go deep into understanding what borrowing is. When you borrow something, do you have to benefit a pruta from it? Does it have to be something that everybody in the world benefits from? What if you did a weird thing with the animal? What if this partners? How do we view Baal of Imoy when the 2 people own an animal? Do both of them have to be serving coffee or one of them? All these very interesting questions. A person borrows an animal to be over bestiality on a Isser Deraisa, a disgusting thing. Nobody does that. So I would have him in a potter. He's potter if something happens to the animal. Why? He didn't borrow it as normal people borrow. That's not called borrowing. Nobody borrows an animal for that. Or what's the whole point in a shayl? That he benefits from it. Obviously, I know he has an from it. A person borrows somebody's Lamborghini, says, do me a favor, drop off your Lambo right in front of my house. I have clients coming today, I want to impress them. Put it in my driveway. Let them think that I'm some gvir. So just to do chazara, in case you started this year yesterday, and Mendy just heard this ma'ase, a part of it. I was in Shalavim, I told him this thing that when I went to Indianapolis for the very first time to see this 2,000 units that I was buying in 2005, I wasn't into cars really. I liked driving in minivans. I had a Sienna. It was high up. I didn't want to. So I drove. I came to this property in a Sienna. Red flag right away. The guy calls him over. I see a whole commotion. I tell the guy, what happened? He says, listen, he before he even shows you the property, he just wants to understand that this young guy, was probably, 2005, so it's almost 20 years ago, right? This guy is 30 years old with a Sienna minivan. He's going to buy 2,000 units. Something's not working out here. So the guy told him, Mark saw him, he said, listen, I know the guy. The guy has his roles. He has a shtick that Badafka, he goes with, he doesn't want to it's part of his shtick. Okay, fine. But anyways, we fast forward. It's getting serious, and this company called Amco, this company that's selling me the product, they owned back then 300,000 apartments. I have no idea where they are today. It was traded on the stock exchange. It's a big company, the largest holder of real estate in America. So this guy, Bill Porter, he says he needs to meet me. They have this whole thing in Denver. He needs to meet me. I said, okay, come. She's like, when can I come? So I started pushing him off, but I didn't have an office. My office was out of one of the houses that I was flipping, a Shvacha house in West Roger Park. So I'm not going to bring him into a single family home and bring him into this back bedroom where my small desk for my Kia was. So I spoke to I called up Elchana Feinstein yesterday. He was my lawyer back then. I said, just remind me that I'm not making this up. Like it's like, who knows if over the years I developed this. And he told me the Maisa. He said, I know, but I was already starting to doubt myself. He says, no, it happened, and here he has a great memory. And basically, they gave me their office that overlooked Lake Michigan and Michigan Avenue and the whole. And we had to do some, maneuvering of the furniture and the pictures and the diplomas on the wall and the whole thing. The best part was we used their secretary. So I told the secretary, listen, when this Bill Porter shows up, no matter when he shows up, you say that Mr. Stefansky is very busy. He's finishing. Make him wait at least for 10, 15 minutes. Kids they wait, the mishlachas, and they show up, and they meet the whole. And so now I don't say it's mutter. I don't know. I'm not saying halacha. Back then, this is what I did. Before I did Daf Yomi, before I knew about Gnevas Das, goy, not goy, this, that, the whole thing. You ask your local rabbi. Leroy, what?
The bills still go there.
The bills. I don't know if I told Olam. That one real estate deal, I couldn't believe it. $150,000 for one transaction. That was the bill. Anyway, look it up. Purchase Mickles and Meeks. I think that was the name of the firm. And beautiful offices, the whole thing. He asked me if I could hire him. Bill Porter asked me, and he showed me on his phone, he says, I want to show you who's on my quick dial. Pulls out whatever phone they had 20 years ago. Donald Trump. It was way before he became president or anything, but he was a big real estate guy. He says, look, I have speed dial to Donald Trump. I have all these guys. You should hire me. And some clown convinced me not to hire him. Anyway, it would have been Moirdik. You borrow something, what?
You almost had Trump working for you.
No, but a guy has all these inside names and everything. And he was in acquisitions. They had a whole floor of just lawyers, a whole floor of just accountants. And he's an acquisitions department with the private jets flying in from Denver. I'm sugar. So there's some cholei guy that comes off the thing, the house in West Roger Park. So, anyway, you borrow something not to use it, to show off, to pretend. Yeah? You're not using it. You need something that's worth something. A Lamborghini is a few $100,000, and you check. Or no, it's not just the Lamborghini is worth money. You have to do something. You have to use it. There has to be usage of mumminess. You have to use that. You have to drive the car down the street. Now, okay, it's almost like imtim shelayma. Sha'ala lasis ba pagis. What?
You have something in that office.
It doesn't work like that. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. No. By Kedushin only works when the guy is a chashuv guy. He wouldn't accept it. Just to look, hanav of having, this hanav wouldn't work in Kedushin. Hanav that you look like you're rich, I'm not going to give you a diamond, but you look like you have a fancy diamond. That's not hanav by Kedushin. This is a very interesting shaila. What would be a very good example? Think about it. You'll all come up with this. What's a good example, you can say, of something that people borrow all the time and they use it for less than a pruta? What's the answer? The answer is a pen. A lot of times you borrow somebody's pen to scribble something. It's less than a pruta. But then it drops out of my hand. I break it. Is that considered borrowing? What's the shaila? I used it. This is a little bit less than a pruta. All over shas, less than a pruta is nothing. So what's the shaila? But it's less than a pruta, so of course it's nothing. But perhaps, listen to this, even less than a pruta is money. It's just not money I could go after him in Bezdin, but it's still money? Or perhaps no, I need a pruta. There's a guy that was pretending that he's like opening up the door of somebody's car, and here in the Merkaz. So the owner of the car comes up, he says, "What are you doing?" He said, there's a cop going up and down the block. I want to prevent you from getting a ticket. So he said, very nice of you. I see. Yeah, so, but why did you choose my car? He says, because I saw in your car the magnet MDY, and I realized you're my mishpacha. No, come on, Oya. All right, so I have no idea where I am. What if I borrow two objects and I'll get a total of one pruta from it? So what's the shayla? What's the shayla? If I look at the borrower and the lender total, I have one pruta. I need the object to produce a pruta. Another interesting shayla. I borrow a car that is owned by two different people. One of the two, Ruvain, he got me a coffee. Do I need both of them to give me a coffee? Just one of them. But what's the shayla? The shayla is, of course, you need both if you want to be potter from the whole thing. The question is, if you're potter from 50%, when 50% of the partners do the balavimah, that's the question. The question is 50% or zero. There was never a shayla that you should be potter from the whole thing. Do you need both partners to do balavimah? Maybe you should be potter from 50%. What about the opposite? Two people borrowed one car, and the owner of the car did balavimah to one out of the two partners. That need that each one of the people that borrows the car should have balavimah, and you don't have that. But maybe no. One of them should be potter because he had balavimah. So, what do we have? First of all, here's the Gemach car. Let's just talk about Nichsei Milug for a second. I always use this example because I know a few people that when they got married, these girls, they got married owning nursing homes. Their father put nursing homes in their names. I always use nursing homes as the example. A woman comes into a marriage with a nursing home. If you don't do anything about it, you don't put a stipulation that should be Nichsei Tzoyin Barzel, it's Nichsei Milug. Nichsei Milug means that if the nursing home is worth $1 million, so as long as they're married, the husband takes all profits. He takes the pay raise out of it. He doesn't own the principal, he gets the profits. If the principal goes down in value and the husband passes away, so the wife gets the nursing home as is, whatever the value is. So now that we know that the husband, he gets to share in all, he gets all the profits. He doesn't share, he gets all profits. How do we view him? Is he an owner or not owner? All he gets is pay raise. All he gets is profits. Does he own it or not? So we have a machlokes actually. He borrowed the nursing home from the wife, and the husband got him a coffee. The woman, she borrowed a cow in order to work on her property. We have a shtickle picture. Here's a woman who borrowed a bull to work her property, which is Nichsei Milug. It's really the husband, he gets all the profits. The husband had the owner of the bull work on his roof as she borrowed it. In other words, are the husband and wife partners here? Mamish 100% partners, that if somebody does balavimah to the husband, it's considered as if there's a full balavimah. What's the question? Mal, kinyan peris kikina guftami. Person that gets the profits as if he owns the principal. Oiloi or not. Amalei Ravina Ravashi, Oimel l'shluchai. So it goes both ways. Because the husband also gets to share in the nichsim malug that the wife borrowed a cow to plow that field. So it's also a question, is he the owner? In the first case, for sure. A guy tells his agent, take this cow, bring it down the street to so-and-so. And when you bring it down the street to Ruvain, I want you to make him a coffee. Is that considered balavima? Because the owner didn't make him the coffee, it's the agent that made the coffee. Like you need the owner. He sent him as an agent, so he's mamish like the guy himself. When it comes to the husband, is he considered an owner that could do balavima pluk to the Refuah Shelaima? That's a famous machlokes that we had, Refuah Shelaima. Shaliach, and in terms of the actual agent, that we have a pluk to the Yosef Yosef. Super interesting that we had a machlokes Yosef in the beginning of the shir today. If two things in one pasuk is considered one, or do you split them? Here's a completely different machlokes, the same people, just a completely different machlokes. And there's a third machlokes that we had of them in the last 2 days. Baal pluked the Refuah Shelaima, Ditmar. What's the machlokes? How much is the chaver the Paris? We know the halacha of bikurim. The mamish coming up now, Shavuos, 8 days. When you have fruit, shivsaminim, the first fruit, you bring in to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you read, look what it says in the pasuk. Asher nasata li Hashem. Thank you for giving it to me. What's yours? Do you have to buy it? Or what if you do some deal with somebody that's yours for a few years? So, is you buy a field, but all you get to benefit is the profits, the fruit. That's enough. That's considered nasata li. Oh, so if we take that and bring it to the husband here, the husband gets the profits of the nursing home, so it's his nursing home. You can't say nasata li if you have profits. So mimela, the husband cannot be balavimai by a nursing home. Why? Because when you get profits, it's as if you own the principal. Just because you get the profits doesn't mean you own the principal. What about the agent? Shaliach pluked the Rebbe of Rebbe Yoshia. The Sanya. Like the Maisa, a guy goes, Maisa Shahaya. The guy left town. He didn't like his wife so much. He said, listen, I set up that you get all your parnasah from the miser of the town. He didn't tell her he's the miser, but everybody knew he's the miser. So when he left, she goes, knocks on his door. I'm starving. She says, who are you? She says, my husband left. He said that you're going to take care of me. He said, of course. He chap, and he gave her money. The guy comes back a half year later. He sees his wife as mamish. She gained a lot of weight. She's eating a schmack. What's going on? What do you mean what's going on? You set up with the miser, the guy. No, so he runs to the guy and says, what do you do? He says, she says, I want to pay you. He says, no, you're not paying me. It's my schos. They went to Bezdin, the whole thing. The guy goes out of town. He knows his wife is up to no good. She's going to make nadarim. She's going to do things. The halacha in the Torah is that a husband could be mefer neder. If a wife makes a neder, the husband can annul it within 24 hours without going to Bezdin, nothing. Now he's out of town, so he can't do it. So he tells his neighbor, listen, if you hear that she made a neder, that she's going to go on a diet and she's not going to eat carbs, you chop it off right away. Immediately you make hafaras nadar. Call the door station and behavior law, and the neighbor did hafaras nadarim. I would think it's okay. Why? You don't need to see it on my chart because it's in the Gemara, but it's geshmak. It has 2 red words here. They're extra. One, Isha means what? Her husband. The husband is mekayim the neder. The husband is made for the neder. But why does it say twice? It should say Isha kimena v'yifirena. What's the second Isha? To teach us only a husband has the right, not even a shliach, which typically shlucha shalom kumayso. So to bayas, the shliach cannot do bala v'imai. Not true. In all of the Torah shlucha shalom kumayso, therefore bala v'imai works as a shliach. Of Elish l'Rava, Rav Elish says to Rav, the same question, but instead of a agent, your own slave. The Gemara is going to say a slave is better. Go down the block, give this cow to the neighbor, and at the same time make him a coffee, so you have balavimoy, so he's potter. We'll have a question. Sai like Rabbi Yoshia and Sai like Rabbi Yonason. Sai is a new word. I just introduced it. This you only have shluch shalom kamoisai by a shaliach that chayv mitzvahs. Aval eved the lav bar mitzvah loy. Eved doesn't have mitzvahs. Maybe he can't be a shliach. What? Yeah, he doesn't have all, but he's not in all mitzvahs, especially in this mitzvah. Not in. It's chayv k'mitzvahs kisha. Or maybe a slave is different. The hand of the slave is like his master's. That's how we paskin that the slave is like his master and and he could do ba'alav imay. Boy Ram Bar Chama Bal Benichse Ishtoi Shoyel Have Oy Soicher Have Daf Tzadik Vav Amud Beis. So before we get to sponsors, it's very interesting. Let's say a couple gets married. It happens. I have a few friends, Leilenu. Couple gets married. The husband takes the wife comes to the marriage with a car. This part didn't happen, but it could. Takes the car, smashes it into a tree. And then they realize that the shidduch is not a shidduch. They got to get divorced. So the whole fight, I want my Shulchan Aruch back, I want the ring back, the whole thing, the typical fights in Bezit. And then she pulls a fast one. She goes, and I want you to pay for my car. But we're married. But how do we view a married couple that she brings in a car? Is the husband, they own it together? No. Perhaps we view the husband as a borrower. And if he's a borrower and he hit a tree, he's chayev, 100%. Or perhaps he's a renter. Why is he a renter? Because the whole reason why he gets to benefit from his wife's parnasah and everything is because if she gets captured, he has to redeem her. So no, everything that she has, he gets to use, but he's actually paying for it. He's paying her that he's going to redeem her no matter what. So we could view it as a renter. What else could we say a husband is? What other options do we have? Huh? Who? A shutuf. Based on what? How? Not bad. Yeah, you're semi-close. The Gemara is going to say, not a Shem Rechinam, the Gemara is going to say, he's a buyer. He bought it from her. And that's why the Gemara ends up. Shoyel have soicher have. How do we view a husband? Is he a shoyel or a soicher? Because he's so sharp, he messed things up. Rami Bar Chama. Manav Shach. If a husband becomes a borrower at the time of the chuppah, at the chuppah he borrows all her stuff. Guess what? Yeah, nichsim balog. At the time of it's not nichsim balog, it's 100% his. What's up? You seem you're not so embarrassed.
Just owes her.
Yeah. Okay, so he's a shoyel at the chuppah, but guess what? At the chuppah she promises she's going to cook for him, wash his clothing, etc., etc. So it's Baal of Imai. She's working for him from the chuppah simultaneously as he. So there's no shayla at all. He should be potter. And even if he's a renter, she's working for him from that chuppah on. Turning the daf is by Eric Adelman of Bigger Cup Consulting. Kidnovations LLC as a zechus for quick and full refua Shelaima for Hatzlacha member's wife who's in critical condition of giving birth. Lana Devorah by Hadassah Leah. Please stop and daven for her. And as a zechus for Akiv Simcha ben Fego. Eloki. Let's go weiter. Eloki k'mebayir le'Rami Bar Chama. The agar mino paro v'hodar nazba. What happened was he rented a cow from her and then he married her. So first there was schirus, and we said Baal Avimai has to be simultaneously or before she gives the cow to him. Over here he was already a renter for a year, and afterwards they got married. That doesn't work. But then the question is, Shoyel Havi, Soicher Havi. That what? Shoyel Havi, maybe you redo it at the chuppah, now he becomes a borrower instead of a renter. And therefore he's potter. Why? You have Sheila B'Bailim, Balavimai, Mafkes Chir, Sheila B'Bailim, and it knocks out the rental. Oidilma, Soicher Havi, maybe he remains a renter, and he was already a renter before, There's no redoing the rental agreement. He was a renter for a year. He remains a renter. Ask the Gemara, not true. Logically speaking, you're wrong. You understand that by the chuppah, we redo things. He was a renter, but he flips into a borrower. So even if you're a renter, you should flip into another renter, into a new renter. If the chuppah changes things and makes you from a renter to a borrower, so the chuppah should change things and make you from a renter to a new renter with Baal of Imai. Ella, you're right. She rented a cow. And then she married him. Now check this out, Rabbi Isai. Here we got a guy that's renting a cow from the cow rental place. He gives the guy money. What does this renter do? We had the Shiloh, if you remember. He gives it to somebody as here, you could use my cow. So guy number 3, the borrower, he's high for everything. So when the cow dies, guy number 3, Shayel, has to pay for the cow. To who? To 2? So the guy, it's a great business. The Seicher doesn't have to pay the original owner, and the Seicher is going to pocket $2,000. So yes, it's actually machlokes. Believe it or not, it's a great business.
Why is it a great business?
Because the Seicher... No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Afterwards, no. The Seicher, look what happens. Check it out. He makes a shvuah that it died. Kedarka. He gets all the cash and he gives 0 to the owner. Because a renter whose cow dies as he's renting doesn't pay a dime. And he'll get all the money from the shayel. So if that's the case, that the shayel has to pay the middle guy, there's no question over here. Why? The husband doesn't have to pay the wife. Why? Because under the chuppah, she promised she's going to work for him. Today, the husband works for her, whatever, or they both work for each other. But according to Rabbi Yosi, that the shayel has to pay the original owner, now we have a shayla. How do we view it? You missed the boat. He's not a shayla and he's not a soicher. He's a buyer. How do I know this? Think about this for a second. With the nursing home situation, the woman gets married, she has a nursing home. She realizes the day after she got married, why did this guy marry me? For the nursing home. Look how he's treating me. He doesn't care about me, he cares about the money. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sell the nursing home. So she sells the nursing home. What's the halacha? The husband gets all the profits. However, if she wouldn't sell the nursing home and she dies before him, he would inherit the nursing home. But if she sells it, so yes, he gets all the profits when she's alive, but once she dies, he doesn't inherit the nursing home. The nursing home goes to the buyer. In Usha, they said this is not a good idea. Because women are going to sell, there's going to be machlokes between the husband and wife, divorce, da-da-da-da-da. They said, even if the wife dies, the husband inherits it. Why? Must be that the husband is a buyer. Must be that the husband is a buyer, not a shoyel and not a soicher, but a buyer. That's why he gets it back after her death. If she sells off the nursing home, amazing, she dies. You see from here that he's a buyer, not a soicher, not a shoyel. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.